people don't want to talk about it, and some suicides are being mislabeled as accidents or illnesses. The silence surrounding suicide and its prevention is digging a grave for the youth in Ghana. Suicide is a crime in Ghana. Section 57 of the 1969 Criminal Code talks about the abetment of suicide and the attempted suicide. It says, 1, and I quote, "Whoever abets the commission of suicide by any person shall, whether or not the suicide be actually committed, be guilty of first-degree felony. 2, whoever attempts to commit suicide shall be guilty of misdemeanor." This is the position helping. Is this position helping anything? What about our continued silence on the issue? Has media reportage continued in the same way the sudden rise? How can we help someone with suicide tendencies? How can we be sure we are not next in line to jump off the cliff? Now, he may not be holding all the answers, but Dr. Eugene Dodway is a psychiatrist with Holy Trinity Spa in Sogankope and has seen more than a fair share of suicide patients and has dealt with their families in the aftermath. You would think that a clinical engineer is out of place in this discussion, but Hilda Apeni knows all about suicide. She'll be joining us on phone. But with me in the studio is Doctor. Now this is PM Express, and we are going deep into the silent killer of suicide. Right after the break, we are talking. The topic today is dying in silence. How scary that sounds, if you may ask me. And with me in the studio to talk about this issue, this very serious issue, is Dr. Eugene Dodway, psychiatric at the Holy Medical Trinity Spa. Is it Holy Trinity Medical Spa?
Trinity
Medical Spa in Sogankope.
There's a clinic also at North Kaneshi.
Oh, okay, under the same umbrella?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Hilda Apeni, who's the founder of I Shall Not Die Suicide Prevention Group, will join us on the phone. But before I even introduce Doctor properly, I was talking to him and I said, well, it would be nice for you to come on the show with the victim. He says, Nana, I said, yes, the victim would have already died. I have to come with the survivor. I felt a bit silly. I said, okay, doctor, it would be nice if you come with the survivor and then we do the show. Doc, welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I think the same mistake sometimes we make about saying suicide is a crime. Mm-hmm. Suicide in Ghana is not a crime. It's the attempts which is a crime.
Yeah.
So, but in other countries, the suicide itself can be a crime.
I see.
You can be punished for, forfeiting your benefits, pension, and any other benefit that the state owes to you if you commit suicide. So we can still punish suicide. But in Ghana, it's the only crime that when you attempt, it's a crime. When you complete it, it is no crime.
Wow. When you're driving in the UK, and you stop and you have a spare tire which is flat, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Or if you don't have any, it's fine. But if you have one that is pumped, but then it's very bald, you are in big trouble. That's a serious trouble. But Doc, why should we feel sorry for somebody who's going to commit suicide? Yeah,
one, suicide is a deliberate self-act with the intention of death. So one, it should be deliberate. Two, the person committing the act should have the intention that this should kill me. There is a difference between suicidal behavior and what you call deliberate self-harm. There are people who also harm themselves in a way that they don't intend dying, but they may also accidentally die. So the two are a bit different. But for suicidal behavior, they know in their minds that this act I'm doing can end up in my death, in the preferred death. The reason why it became a crime and why people think they shouldn't have, be pitied is because we inherited a law from our colonial masters where life belonged to the state. Virtually, we all belong to the queen or the king of the Commonwealth.
Okay.
So if you take any life, you're actually taking a property of the kingdom.
I see.
So you have no right to take any property of the kingdom away because we all belong to that. And even though they still have the monarchy there, they have moved on about 60 years ago, and that suicidal behavior is no longer a crime in the UK. And we have kept that law in our criminal code, as you read in the synopsis, that when you try it, you commit a misdemeanor, and therefore you can be jailed for it. And people have been jailed in Ghana for it. The argument for, the legal argument for it being criminal.
Before we'll get to the legal side, but I want to find out that, 18-year-old boy, girlfriend writes a letter. Well, dear Kofi, this is it. I don't want to be with you anymore. There's plenty of girls. A normal boy, all you do is, well, thank you very much. Next, at that age, you just move on to, if Efia says no, move on to Ama. But then you come and find Kofi hanging. And,
this is fictional. I think we can use a real life example. The student who committed suicide for not getting the grades he expected in Ghana, a 17-year-old committed suicide. I think the earliest age we've recorded in Ghana, I recall, is about 8-year-old girl who hanged herself.
Wow.
So the children, and research has shown over and over again that this is because of a mental illness. After about 70% of them is from depression alone.
Wow.
And actually, 97% of all suicidal behavior is a result of an illness. The 3% worldwide, which is not from an illness, is from the suicide bombing. And they are not in Ghana. So for us in Ghana, all of it is from illnesses.
Depression.
Mainly depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, mood disorders, acute stress reaction.
So the reason, i.e. maybe not getting the grades or getting down by AMA, is not something
that is an illness, in the sense that how does the mind or the brain of that person react to the news, a bad news? Because all of us go through life. There's nobody who is immune to stress of life. Nobody's immune. So stress of life will come to us. My parents will die. My wife may die before I die. My kids may die. I may be promoted. Promotion is even a stressor. Demotion is a stressor. And these things will happen to us. Birth, life, marriage, death, divorce. These are all stressors which happen. But when they do happen, doesn't mean it is worth my life. That is when the ill brain, the ill mind, is not able to positively assess it and realize that this is a situation I'm going through now, and that I can be better off tomorrow. There is another way. But they think that because I have failed now, my life is not worth living. And that is what the young boy went through. He felt that he has failed, even though by all standards he hasn't failed. But failure is not measured by my standard or your standard. It's by the person's standard. Mm-hmm. So he felt that he made 6 A's and 2 B's. So for him, it's a failure. He didn't get 8 A's. For him, it's a failure. And for him, because he has disappointed somebody or he has disappointed himself, he's not able to reason up to realize that I can write it again to prove a point that yes, the fact that I didn't make it this time, that doesn't mean. And we all know of Abraham Lincoln. I think the only election he won was the one that made him a president. He lost many elections. So failing is not an end. And actually, failure can be something that we learn from. So when people get stresses of life and they think because of that their life is not worth living, that is a diseased mind. So that thinking is not right thinking for a normal person. And that is why I wanted to bring the legal aspect, because the legal people think that if we allow them not to be criminalized, it means that people can steal money, people can commit crime and then kill themselves. But even then, because we all know people who have been sentenced to life or death and they've come out free. So it is not automatic that once you've been sentenced to death, you surely die. Once you have life, you are supposed to preserve that life. And that is the normal human thinking. So once people realize that their life is not worth living, that is when we say they are ill. And I'm sure we'll talk to Hilda, she will tell you. At that point, she wanted to die. Now that she was treated and she had been through treatment and now she's well, she no longer wants to die. So then, why should we allow somebody who wants to die now to die? Because when I treat that person, tomorrow a person will be grateful to me and not wish to die again. So the whole concept of it being, and it's not only because it is even criminal, it is even worse than that. The statistic that you read, Ghana's own is only an estimate. We still don't know the true rate of suicide in Ghana because we record suicide as part of unnatural causes of death. Like the Galamsey disaster, building disaster, killing people, we can't put it as one cause of death. So we put all these causes of death, drowning and other things, and suicide under unnatural causes of death. So that as a nation, we don't even know who commits suicide, where they are committed, and so once, and in life, if you don't monitor anything, you don't put in any measure to, improve it. So once we are not monitoring it at all as a nation, it means that we don't care about people who are committing suicide. We think it is not a problem, while the World Health Organization says that it is now a public health concern because many more people are dying from suicide.
1 million is a big number.
Actually, every minute, 4 people die from suicide. Every minute, worldwide.
That many
and the worrying trend why it can probably have concern is that in the US, for instance, they've done studies about it. It's the 3rd leading cause of death for 19 to 24-year-olds. So the youth, the young people, strong people, is the 3rd leading cause of death for them. And for them, it's the 3rd because they have a lot of homicides. So, because of the homicides and the accidents they have on their roads, they are the 1st and 2nd because they drive a lot. So we don't drive and we don't kill ourselves. So virtually, if you take the 19 to 24-year-olds, if we're in the US, it would have been the number 1 cause of death for our young people.
That's a worrying.
That's a very worrying trend. Phenomenon. And it's like we don't care as a nation. It's like we don't care as a nation because these deaths are preventable. That is the sad truth.
Because as a culture,
they are preventable.
Is it because as a culture, it's a shame to go and say, oh, my son hanged himself or my son drank poison? For us, it's a bit, don't say that.
It is multifactorial. Some societies in Ghana will actually ostracize your whole family if you have somebody. So nobody will want to come out and say so. There are some cultures in Ghana where when you commit suicide, the body is flogged before being buried. And you're not buried in the normal cemetery. They have to give you a separate... Because we still don't understand. We think it's a shame. And unfortunately, even the educated elite among us, who lead the nation, also don't understand. And we have put it in law to make you that because you are exhibiting symptoms of your illness, a depression, therefore go to jail. So essentially, what we are saying is that because somebody is sick, because somebody has a fever when he has a malaria, let's punish him. Because it is not their own will that make them think they want to commit suicide. What happens in depression, especially, is that people feel guilty that they are, worse sinners. And Dr. Osei, the chief psychiatrist, did a research where he interviewed 17 self-confessed witches. They were all depressed, all of them. Because when you are depressed, you feel guilty and you feel that you are the cause of every wrong thing on earth. I've met a young boy who was committing suicide because he felt that he's the reason why sin is on earth.
Wow.
So if he dies, there will be no sin on earth again. And that was going to hang himself before the parents brought him for treatment. So they feel so guilty that they think they are the reason why every evil thing goes on. And they feel worthless. And with this thing, the worst of it is that they feel there's no hope again. And that is the thinking that happens in a depressed mind. So when there's no hope, why live again? And that is and this is a medical condition that can be treated. So we don't treat them, and as they say in Akan, when you be ama wasi, and literally, that is, you can't afford any good thing for your in-law, and you steal from them. These are people, we cannot help them as a nation when they are sick. And now we say that we should punish them for being sick again. So we can't afford them treatment, and we are jailing them for being ill.
Isn't it amazing that we still have laws like that, on our statutes? I mean, isn't it about time, what would make the states take it off and rather treat it as an ailment, or because you'd rather jail somebody who had HIV than somebody who,
Well, HIV, you can't jail them because now they have powerful advocates. So it all comes from advocates. Because I can even tell you worst case, scenarios. There are people who are fat, they are obese, hypertensive, they are diabetic. We tell them as doctors that go and exercise, don't eat this. If you do them, you will die. So they're also committing suicide slowly. They do it, they get a heart attack, and they get a stroke. We don't punish them. Why?
And that's even more deliberate.
And that's even more deliberate, because we've told that if you don't exercise, you get it. And they know, and they are not sick in their minds. But yet, they do it, and they get a stroke, and we spend money to treat them. And they are not being punished. But when somebody gets a depression, when somebody gets alcoholism, when somebody gets schizophrenia, and their mind tells them that, go kill yourself, say no, because yours I don't understand, I'll jail you.
How would you identify symptoms? If you're living with your son or daughter or younger, not necessarily younger, anyone at all.
Anyone at all. What we look at is what we call the predisposing factors. So anybody who we've shown that this thing can run through families. So if you have somebody in your family who has committed suicide before, you are more likely to also follow it. If people have committed what they call deliberate self-harm, people that we think they are attention seekers, that they hurt themselves to get attention, they are also likely to commit suicide. People who are impulsive, they can't wait for that. Something occurs to them, they must do it. Okay, it can be a personality problem. They are also more likely to commit suicides. Then comes the people who have mental conditions that are likely to commit suicide.
So people elaborate of impulsive.
Yeah, impulsivity. That is, I guess, get a thought.
All impulsive. Walk past something.
We are not impulsive because your boss might offend you, but you don't talk. Talk back at him at once. Because he's your boss, he can fire you. So when a boss offends you and the person is impulsive, he says, "Oh, take your job. I'm leaving today." When you leave today, you have no job elsewhere. Yeah, and that's how impulsive people behave.
Okay.
So yes, today I've lost everything. Okay, then it's not worth living. I kill myself. So when people are impulsive and they ever utter that I wish I were dead, there is a very serious statement that we who are well or better should offer help to them. The churches help, the mosque help, but spiritual treatment alone is not enough. It's never enough. When we pray for them, if you tell somebody who is depressed to fast, they get worse. Because fasting is a stressor. So they may get worse and they will want to kill themselves. So when people have this problem and they approach us, let's not only pray for them, let's seek professional help and treat the underlying condition. As I said, it can be from depression, which is treatable. It can be from schizophrenia, where people hear voices or they get thoughts, abnormal beliefs, where they believe that there are people who, I actually had a patient who was hearing voices that if you don't kill yourself, we will kill your boss, we will kill your wife, and we'll kill your 3 children. And he was smart like, if I'm going to lose 5 people, then why not kill myself? The only reason why he survived was that he tried to slash his own throat, which nobody can do. You cannot slash your own throat and die. So he tried it and threw himself down, and I saw him in Korle Bu at the ENT, where they're trying to help him with his throat. And that's when I was called in to come and help him. But he was hearing, and this man was purely psychotic, and that was why he was going to commit suicide. So this man needed treatment, and we are saying that for such a man, we should jail him.
Wow.
That's what we are saying. People with addiction, substance abuse, that is alcohol and drugs of abuse, sometimes when they abuse it too much, they become hopeless. They wish they stop. The nation has very few rehab centers, Ankafo and Pantine. The rest are private. I mean, the medical spa is there. We have one at Ashaman. And there are very few all down south. And people are going through addiction who need rehabilitation. They are not being treated. So when these people want to kill themselves, we say we should punish them for wanting to kill themselves. People go through bipolar disorder. These are mood swings. Okay, one time they are too happy, one time they are too sad. And it happened to, I'm not allowed to mention that, but it happened to one famous person in this country who, so just month after when he was over happy and he bought even a car, Hummer, and he was very, everyone thought he was over happy. But because they are mood swings, the next moment he became too depressed and he said that life, he cannot make life to meet, it doesn't make meaning out of it, and he hanged himself and he killed himself. So people with mood swing disorder, which we call a bipolar, they are also likely to commit suicide. So there are people we know, but once anybody tell you, whether jokingly or whatever, that I wish I were dead, I think life is not worth living, I think I don't want to live again. Once people say those words, because it's shown about 96% of people who commit suicide would have told somebody before. So they always say it, but we don't take them serious, and we just allow them to go ahead. Unfortunately, in our country, we don't even have helplines. We don't even have anybody to talk to, and we don't even employ trained psychologists. Because this young boy who committed suicide could have been helped if the school had a psychologist that, because before every exam, we don't always get it right. You might be a brilliant student, but you may make some errors which may make you get some progress. That does not make you a failure. You see, when you're running and you fall down, that doesn't mean you have failed. It's only when you stay down there, that's when you, because people can run, fall, and get up and still be first.
Come and win the race.
Yes, so the fact that you write an exam this year and you didn't make it is no reason to take your life. Because, failing one time does not mean you are a failure.
Look,
and show me one person who has never failed in life who has been to the top. Never.
One thing I want to find out, and we had this discussion before, is our attitude towards people with mental disorder. Yeah. So I'm just trying to find out, as a country, when are we going to get to people who become suicidal? They are so far down the ladder. How do we champion a cause to bring them forward so they get help?
One good thing I must say happening in this period of our country, is that we've passed a mental health law that, if when implemented, obviously is going to solve many of these problems, because the plan is that we should make mental health services available in every hospital. So that if it's in every clinic and every hospital, then we all go there for help, so that we don't have people going to mental side. Again, I must say this on air. We've had a system in the healthcare system, which I think is not the best, where we create counseling units for TB, for HIV, and not for other conditions. So all this should be integrated so that we have a counseling unit for all conditions, so that people who also need counseling for, social problems and other things can also go there and seek help. We kind of, pigeonhole things in this country, that this is for this is for that. But we need a more integrative approach, so that if we have mental health services in every hospital, then we don't need people to come down south to the mental hospital, which is already stigmatized. They should be able to access mental health care services everywhere, so that when people are depressed, they can go to any hospital in the country and then seek health care. we don't really want them to come down to the mental hospital, but they don't have to. And they are all down south anyway. The country is not only in the south. So it is sad. So what we needed, the law should have been implemented by June. We are in September now, so 3 months lag behind. But hopefully, I mean, if the law gets fully implemented, all these things should tease out, and we should be able to provide mental health services worldwide. And because we seek to move to the communities and treat them in the communities.
Okay. So what are the main methods that suicide people are using? Which are the most popular methods?
Yeah, the methods is what has separated the men and the women. 3 times more women attempt suicide than men. Attempt. But 3 times more men die from suicide than women. The major reason is that the men use a sure means of death. The women will want to use a milder form like drug overdose, so they take the drug and somebody will help them and save them. The men will go by hanging, by gunshots, by usually violent means, which is usually a sure means of death. Some of the accidents are suicidal. I've seen a patient who was a Muslim and didn't want to commit suicide because for them it is haram. So she traveled on the Accra-Lagos route 4 times, hoping to get an accident so that she didn't kill herself. The accident killed her.
Wow.
That is how far people can go. So, and I've seen patients who have tried to drive on highways, speeding recklessly, just to get an accident. Because people believe that suicide is a sin. Actually, we protect them. So they end up not wanting to kill themselves, but they want to be in a position where they will die from it. It's still a suicide because it's an act deliberate, which with the intention of death.
You see, I think the difficulty is understanding how low. If you haven't been there, how low can you get to want to, do that? I think that's where probably we need more education in that.
The problem is our policy makers. We don't understand it, and I'm not sure we are prepared to understand it because it is quite common. The sad thing is that when you get some of these, influential people's their own relatives getting the same problem, that is when they begin to appreciate it and you ask them, so when you're in a position, what can you do to change it? Because it is not fair that young people are allowed to go through school, they see no psychologist, they see no counselor, they go through school, they do their own thing, their parents have to become their own counselors by force, and then when they go through stress of life, nobody is there to guide them. We don't provide any avenue for these things throughout our education. Throughout work, every work organization should have a working culture where we have what we call employee-assisted programs, where employees can receive mental health therapy at where they work. Because a place like here, I must admit, journalism is one of the stressful areas. Because there's always timelines. You have to meet a timeline, you have to meet the news, you have to do this. And these places are stressful. And I don't know whether you have, people here in the human resources, social welfare who kind of care for the people. Because people have to travel at dawn, leave their children at home, get home late. Who cares for them?
Statistics, and I think Greater Accra is leading on the screen. I think Greater Accra is leading on the suicide list. With 431, and then Northern Region at 276, and then Ashanti Region 276. Upper West, and I think Central Region is probably
the least.
Yeah, probably the happiest region.
Yeah, it might not be because these are actually absolute numbers. So you ask yourself, what are the population in these regions? Okay. Greater Accra, we are has the majority, about 5 million people, 45 million people.
So if you look at the
percentages of people, and again, most of our data are not real data because when the media report a suicide, it's considered a suicide. So that means if I kill you and hang you, it's a suicide.
Okay.
Yeah. So we actually need proper postmortem analysis, and then we come out with this data. But we don't usually go through all these processes to confirm it, because some of the suicide that I've read in the media, I was skeptical whether they were suicide. There was one I heard that a pastor shot himself, and one paper reported that there were blood oozing out of the chest. Most times people don't commit suicide from shooting their chest.
They always shoot the head.
Yeah. So it's a bit. So I mean, it's not so sure. So for some of these things, we should find out, for instance, how far the gun was from the body before it was shot. Whether it was somebody who shot him or he shot himself, and whether the person is left-handed or right-handed. How the gun went, the bullet went into the body. We can know all these things by post-mortem, but we hardly do them. So what we have now is usually the police report and the media report of suicides. Yes, it's a good step, okay, but we have to go beyond that to get the actual rate of suicide so that we can make, an informed policy to prevent it, because we need to prevent death from it. These are avoidable deaths. They are purely avoidable, unfortunately, and we are not doing anything to really avoid them, to prevent them.
I'm going to take a break, and then when we come back, I want to find out this urbanization. We are all now moving to the city, and in the city, life is faster, more stressful, much more demanding. What's going on with that? And then we'll also try and see if we can get Hilda on the phone, so she also tells us a story. We're coming straight back. Well, dying in silence, getting so depressed, getting so low that life is meaningless, that you decide that I'm going to take my life. That could be anything that you and I might find trivial. Can you imagine if I got, 6 A's and 2 B's? I'll be dressed in white, doused in powder.
Some of us never got that.
Probably missed the registration out of excitement. However, this could drive somebody to their death. And you and I should understand that it is individual, as doctors say. But one thing the doctor and I was talking about is that, we've been struggling since time to get regular mental health, bill passed. Now, as we talk now, doctor, suicide is a crime. So if I attempted suicide and I came to you for help, it's literally like me stealing a phone and saying, Doc, can you help me hide this phone? Because it's an illegality.
Yeah, so for now, I must say all of us psychiatrists are, hiding criminals.
Aiding and abetting.
Yeah, aiding and abetting. So somebody like me should be jailed for helping somebody not to die. Because once they came to me that they wanted to die, I'm supposed to call the police for them.
To arrest them?
Yeah, to arrest them. That, yes, this person wanted to die.
No, as funny as it sounds, it's serious.
That's how serious it is. So when they come, and so you ask them, they never tell you. So you have to probe before, because they are not sure. So we have to assure them that, yes, I'm not a police officer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm here to help you. Because we want to know the extent. Sometimes they will tell you details about what plan they've had, because we need to know all that so that if other family members are in the house, they can then go and get rid of. Because some of them would have had plans.
Hidden things
everywhere, knife and everything that they're going to use to commit, maybe the next day. Wow. So then we have to take these things off. And then we also make the family aware that this person can kill himself through this method. So don't make it available to the person.
Look, let me just interject. See, so all this education and everything we're doing, maybe families would learn and pick up signs and try and help and everything. But the main organ grinders who can make laws and put monies in place to help you and to help them, they can do it because by law they are breaking the law. This is something they need to send the police and troops to, not donate money, to a cause.
Yeah, and I must admit I had a similar case like 2 days ago, which the police was involved and they were going to call for reinforcement that somebody is committing a crime. I said, hey, take it easy. just in 2 days, I'll be talking about this on TV. So just watch it and understand it. This is not a crime. The person is sick and needs treatment. Otherwise, the police are prepared to go and arrest somebody be suicidal, So the challenge is that I think somebody might be daring and challenge this in courts because it's virtually abusing of people's fundamental human right. The right to health care is being abused by jailing them. But personally, I don't want to go the litigant approach. No. I would want to also have an advocacy to help to lobby our parliamentarians that, hey, let's look at this law, I mean critically. It's not fair punishing somebody who is exhibiting symptoms of an illness that just because you don't understand and you think, because until that criminality is removed, with the new mental health acts, there's some leeway there. But now it is left at the discretion of the magistrate or the judge that if they decide that this person should seek mental health care before it does. But my point is that if most of them are ill than criminal, why do we go through the criminal procedure before coming to seek health care? Why don't we route all of them through the healthcare system before the criminal, procedure?
Oh, we have Hilda on the phone now. Let's have a discussion with Hilda. Good evening, Hilda.
Good evening.
I know for one reason or other you couldn't make it to the studio, but I'm glad at least we can talk to you on phone.
Yeah, I'm very sorry I was not able to make it.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, thank you.
Hilda, somebody will say, chemical engineer. I mean, somebody is struggling hard to even make it as a vulcanizer. They can't even pass through. So for somebody like you, I then sit back and say, why would you want to take your life? Because it's all rosy for you. You're a chemical engineer. You must have a good job, must have a good income. You are an envy. People sit in their houses and wish they were you. So why would you want to take your life?
That's the complexity of the subject matter. Suicide is a very complex issue that you can't say that this person can do it, this person would not do it. No. It cuts across ages. It doesn't matter your societal level or your age or wherever you're coming from. It's like malaria. Once you have mosquito bites, you would get malaria. So once you get depressed, you would get sick. And that's
do you have friends? I mean, do you have a good social circle, or you are a loner?
Sorry?
Did you have friends, or were you like the recluse one?
Oh, I had friends, but I didn't want my friends to know what I was going through.
Wow.
I was withdrawn when the depression started.
Wow. May I ask if was it through work or through a relationship or?
It was a relationship, a marriage breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to cope?
Very difficult, very difficult. It took me several years to get over it because it's like most people didn't know what I was going through, so it was difficult for anybody to help. I kept everything to myself, thinking I could contain or I could handle some of the things. Then I got to my elastic limit, so, I blew up. And that was when I became suicidal.
Let me ask. I'll be asking silly questions.
Sorry?
But I'll be asking you silly questions, but just bear with me. Could you not have taken up maybe tennis or, a sport and then channel your energies towards it? Could you have done something like that?
On the personal level?
Yes, on a personal level.
No, at the time it was not possible. I had gotten to a point I felt life itself was not living, so why stress myself to do anything to help?
Wow.
I just needed to die to end it all. At the personal level, there was nothing I could do to help myself. The best was to seek for help.
Did it not bother you at the time that whoever was causing the depression was probably living their life, jumped onto a new girlfriend and, living happily ever after? Probably pray for forgiveness and move on?
Yes. Then
but-
whoever was, he was okay. He actually didn't know why I would even want to do that, because he also felt that, I'm trying to make him guilty or something. It's like you want to let people say that he's the reason why you are dying. So that for him was also another issue. But for me, it wasn't even the person, it was the circumstances. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand why I had to go through certain things in life. So I felt that life was not fair. I had worked hard and I needed to be what I thought was the best.
I mean, Hilda,
I didn't want anywhere.
You sound eloquent. You're a chemical engineer. I'm sure there will be, thousands of suitors lined up at your door if you put single on your door.
Yeah.
I mean, could you not have, sought solace from that opportunity? I mean, one door was closed, 1,000 more will be opened.
It's not as easy as that. This is something you have spent most of your years building.
And then all of a sudden
everything
it goes.
Comes crashing, yes, right before you. Then you are wondering all the energies and the time you've wasted. Was it really worth it?
Wow.
Then you become hopeless in yourself. And once the hopelessness set in, then I felt that, anything else didn't matter. Whether there were others that would come, you even do not regard all that. All you want to do is just, the easiest way out.
Wow.
Just die, and then, everything would be over.
Well, kudos to you for, setting up I Shall Not Die Suicide Prevention Group. At least,
Thank you.
Most people would, recover and then go and be by themselves. At least you challenge them. But what was your turning point that made you that, okay, no, this is not worth it? Everything is there to live for. Nothing is worth dying for. What was the turning point for you?
Sorry?
What was the turning point for you that made you decide not to go ahead?
Yeah, the turning point, I was lucky. A friend invited me to the U.S., and that's where I had therapy. Awesome. Then I decided to research into suicide.
Okay.
So when I started to research, then I realized that we had a very big problem here. Because when it happened to me, I don't know if doctor has narrated some of the instances. I had to be reported to the police. I was just lucky that the police at the time was very, let me say kind, or he understood what suicidal behaviors were.
Whoa.
So he was not ready to prosecute me for that. He rather sought for help for me. Then I became very sad that I could have been jailed for being sick. That was when I decided that we have to really take this thing very seriously in this country in particular, because the law here is not helping. You can't criminalize suicide because most of it is out of depression, which is a sickness. And that is very sad. We really have to.
So in her case, the police broke the law.
Yeah, in her case, I mean, this is becoming more serious than it actually is, because you see, Hilda, there's you championing a very, very good cause, but you're actually, promoting an illegality in the country.
Not at all. It's not an illegality.
No.
It's only trying to let people realize that we've been doing something wrong for a long time. The law was brought from the British, and they have changed it. Even now, if you have suicidal behaviors, they rather help you. So if we inherited the law from them and they have changed it, why are we keeping it?
It's a sad story. What are some of the big challenges that you face championing this cause?
Yeah, the challenges is the first instance of it being criminalized. It creates a lot of stigma around it.
Okay.
Once you mention suicide, everybody is like, what is this girl talking about? Why would you even want to be involved in such a thing?
But see, us Ghanaians, we don't get depressed, do we? I mean, we're not supposed to get depressed. You mentioned depression, and everybody says, what's depression?
Yeah, typically black people don't get severe depression. I mean, the depression that the whites get, where they look sad. For us, everything is fine. Every day, how are you? I'm fine. Yeah, so our form of depression is what we refer to as the atypical depression. So even there was research formally that showed that blacks don't get depressed, because we are always happy people. But it's been shown now that we get depression because all the thought processes that go through with depression, we get all of them, and we also become suicidal. And it's common. And look at the Black American history. In America, they were committing suicides, even though they were singing every day. They're committing suicide. So even though they were singing and they were not sad as seen being sad, they were depressed.
Wow.
And that is what, if you don't train as a psychiatrist in Ghana or in Africa, you don't seem to appreciate some of these nuances. And that is why it's difficult for foreigners to come in and see our form of mental illness. Because in her case, her friends didn't even see it. And they won't see, because we are not culturally expected to put on a morose face, a sad face. No. It's
and
not,
our skin don't change color.
It is not acceptable. Our skin don't change color. We are still the same skin color. So it is not really acceptable to be depressed. Or to be seen sad in Ghana. So we don't show it. But inwardly, the thought processes, which is the most important, go on in our minds. We feel hopeless, we feel guilty, we feel worthless, we feel low self-esteem, we don't have anything, only that we smile around. And yet, we don't have it.
I'll just Hilda, so, how can we help, or, where are you now with your foundation, NGO? Are people seem to understanding what you're saying, or still you having challenges with the stigma?
Yes. We are really getting a lot of support. So much. I'm really overwhelmed by it.
Oh, that's good.
It's like a lot of people are beginning to understand our vision, our dream that suicide is preventable if we all decide to get on board. If we see it more of a medical issue than a criminal issue. The support has been very massive since we started.
Well, thank you very much, Hilda, for at least giving us an insight on this, and hopefully maybe sometime we'll get you in the studio and then we'll talk into detail and see how much more we can help you towards this NGO. But Doc, the more we discuss it, the more I get concerned, about it. Yeah, the more.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome, Hilda.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
And all depressed people out there, they should just seek for help.
Sure.
We are here to help them.
So you can log on to her Facebook page. She has a Facebook page, I Shall Not Die. So www.facebook.com, I Shall Not Die, and / I Shall Not Die. You see Hilda, I'm there, I support and all that.
www.facebook.com / I Shall Not Die. And then I'm sure, you could be in your own little corner having your own problems. Just talk to them.
Just talk to us, we'll sort you out.
And you are on the page too, helping us well.
Sure.
Well, that's brilliant. I think that's very, very commendable. So you're the guys, breaking the laws.
Unfortunately. So I'm hoping you get me a lawyer if I'm arrested.
You see? So, but there's no silver bullet, is there?
Well, there is none. The challenge we have here, actually, is one, the law is part of it. The other thing we have is the lack of access to mental health. The third thing is the stigma. Stigma is big time. Nobody wants to talk about being suicide here. Being suicidal. And even, I didn't know much about this.
If you say suicide, they're not going to take your body to the village, are they?
No, they won't, because it is a disgrace to the family. So there's a lot of stigma. So, and unfortunately, the people who have it in their families tend to also, commit it. So when you have it in the family, that is when you should be more concerned and then prevent others from committing the suicide. But that is when we stigmatize them, and then
the emphasis that it's a disease has to go out more.
Because it is a disease. It is a symptom of a disease. Actually, suicidal behavior is a cry for help. The people don't want to die. They only wish dead. But if you help them out of their fears, they would want to live. Like in Hilda's case, at the point, I mean, she didn't tell her story, but when she was arrested by the police, her mind, she said, her mind was that, wow, now I've been arrested, so when they keep me inside, I'll kill myself.
Doctor, 30 seconds, I'll give you the last word before we run up. You know, I'm sure there are people listening out there. We've told them enough, but, you know, what's that last thing that would, I don't know if reassure somebody?
Yeah, for me, what is important is that once you get to the point that you wish dead, once somebody tells you that I wish I were dead, take it seriously. Help the person, or you should seek help. There's help available, at least for now, in the mental hospitals. I mean, in Cape Coast, in Accra, Pantine, we have them. In Koforidua, we have a mental health unit. Kofonoche and Sunyani, we have them. At Tamale, we have mental health units there, though not a hospital. But you can seek help. People should not stay in their homes without help. The other thing is that we need clinical psychologists. Sadly, they are being trained by the universities in Ghana. They are not being employed. So we should employ them in our secondary schools. We should employ them in the universities. We should employ them in our hospitals. People go through trauma, emotional trauma, and nobody counsels them. Nobody gives them psychotherapy, and they just are made to go through this. I mean, with that help. And the last thing is that if we can help repeal this law, that will go a long way to help us help people who have, I mean, this disease. I mean, it's not fair to punish people for being sick.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dodway. Thank you, Hilda Apini, who joined us on the phone earlier on. Dying in silence, do not die in silence. Try hard, and log on to the Facebook page and see if you can find help at the nearest clinic and get out of the stigma and know that it's a disease, it's not a disgrace. My name is Nanan Sakwa. Tomorrow we'll be back here to do it all over again, and thanks for watching. Doc, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.